Please join me in welcoming Mayor Darrell Steinberg.
Thank you, Doctor. Good morning, everyone. I want to begin by raising the mic. I want to begin, first of all, by thanking Doctor, thank you so much, and Trish Rodriguez for your warm introduction, and to Kaiser Permanente, and to all of our healthcare providers, our first responders, both healthcare and law enforcement, to thank you for doing so much to protect the people of Sacramento over these last difficult 2 years. Thank you to Michael Alt, the Downtown Partnership. Thank you to Chair Denton Kelly. Thank you to Visit Sacramento, the Midtown Association, the River District, and all of the other associations and business leaders represented here today. I want to thank and welcome all of my city council colleagues for, under this system or any system of government, I do nothing alone. We do it all together. I want to thank and welcome the other elected officials from the county, our state legislative delegation, and of course, our Congresswoman, Doris Matsui. I want to thank the city manager, Howard Chan, who has been an incredible partner to me and the city council, and his entire team, especially those first responders again, as well as his new and impressive economic development team that is working with all of you to help transform our downtown. And I mostly want to thank the small business owners that have struggled and persevered during this historic and challenging time. I want to begin this morning by saying what we're all saying in different ways. It's time for all of us to do the very best we can to begin shedding the COVID lethargy. Today is a great day because we are all together. Let's smile and laugh a little bit more. Let's appreciate what we have done together to help so many people during the last couple of years. Let's never take these kinds of moments for granted ever again. Let's recommit to building back this downtown and the city that we all love. Today's theme is rebirth and reinvention. Before we start on the downtown, I just want to remind you what's occurred in our fair city over just the past 7 days. Not weeks, not months, just the past 7 days. Last Wednesday, we broke ground on Aggie Square, the $1 billion Jobs and Research Center in the heart of 3 proud Sacramento neighborhoods. This is a big deal. UC Davis, a world-renowned university which previously leaned closer to the research and economic centers of the Bay Area, has now fully come back across the river, committing itself to building the economic future for our city and our region. Last Tuesday, we approved plans for a new teaching hospital and medical school in North Natomas. The North State University Hospital not only fulfills our promise to bring thousands of jobs to the former Kings Arena site, but also will strengthen our reputation as a center of health and life sciences. Thank you to the Kings. Thank you to everyone who helped make that possible. And last Tuesday, we made another significant equipment and workforce investment in the California Mobility Center. This unique partnership with SMUD, with Sacramento State and industry, has already put Sacramento on the map, attracting young companies that represent the future of clean mobility. And that's just last week. During COVID, we had a 12.9% increase in personal income in the Sacramento region. Our region's economic recovery is the second fastest in the state. We are recovering, in fact, faster than the state itself. And yet, there is no question that for many reasons, some of which have been articulated already this morning, the downtown has been hit harder than the region as a whole. While all the state employees, or at least most of the state employees, worked from home and did not see their incomes drop, and I'm thankful for that, we should all be, businesses in the core suffered deeply from their absence. The last few weeks, like all of you, I've spent a lot of time thinking about the future of our city and our region center. I will never shrink from talking about and working hard on the tough problems. But if all we ever talk about is homelessness, then that's all we will ever talk about. I want to use this forum, this day, to both dream together and, yes, to put forward another big idea. Some have been known to refer to me, maybe with a little roll of the eyes, as a policy wonk. Oh no, you're thinking to yourself, another big idea, not another big stretch goal. You said, what? You want to get it done when? Well, I have a firm response to all of my critics. I resemble those remarks. The job of mayor, of any mayor, is to uplift, and to uplift with more than platitudes like, don't worry, it will be all right. As the creatives would say, here's my jam, and it's one that has mostly delivered for my constituents over 25 years of public service. Lay out a big vision. Don't be afraid of controversy or complexity. Work hard. Land the plane with something that brings meaningful change and progress. And oh, never, ever give up. Which brings me to the state of the downtown and the big idea. I bet few here have ever invoked Mark Twain in a State of the Downtown speech. Well, I'm about to. Twain said famously, rumors of my demise have been greatly exaggerated. And so I say this, people who think downtown is not coming back, people who think downtown will not come back, should read more Mark Twain. Come on, people, in the midst of the worst health and economic crisis in a century, we kept building. The 7th Street Standard, Nash and Proper, Frog and Slim, Anthropology, Salt and Straw, the new convention center and theater. We were one of 6 cities in the world to welcome back Hamilton to the stage. 3,000 housing units under construction, 530 new hotel rooms, adaptive reuse like Hyatt-centric and the Exchange. The Golden One Center, all of the activity, Doco, alfresco dining on a warm Sacramento evening. Love it. restaurants staying afloat by feeding shut-in seniors, great plates, inspiring, hundreds of millions of dollars of new investments in our central city. Brilliant and committed and fearless business leaders, most of who are in this room today, who said, we are going to persevere even in the most difficult of times. Too many to name, but I thank you all. We all thank you for believing in downtown Sacramento. I'm also not naive about the setbacks. And I want to tell you one that Michael Alt briefly referred to, and that is the waterfront, specifically the old Sacramento waterfront. We stand here in this beautiful third floor ballroom of the convention center because Visit Sacramento and the hoteliers stepped up big time and exacted a fee, a significant fee on themselves to pay for this ballroom. That freed up over $40 million of so-called TOT, hotel tax capacity, that my city council and I decided we were going to invest in the old Sacramento waterfront, to modernize that waterfront, to keep all of the great traditions of what makes it so special, but to make it an even greater destination, to modernize it with new restaurants, new parks, and new features. And man, was it an impressive plan. And then COVID hit. COVID hit and the bond capacity for the hotel tax went away. I hope temporarily, but it's going to take a few years to come back. We had just one financial tool, and COVID pulled it out from under us. That, in my view, is a cautionary tale. For one tool is not enough. We need to be more aggressive if we are going to write our own story and not have it written for us. Resources matter if we are going to reinvent COVID. Excuse me, if we are going to we don't want to reinvent COVID. That's the best laugh line of the entire speech, and it wasn't even part of the script. Resources matter if we are going to reinvent downtown in the post-COVID world. We all acknowledge that the world is changing for downtowns. I will shout to the rooftops, to the governor, and to other state leaders that the state should bring all of their workers back downtown. Everyone working from home permanently every day is just too much isolation. People should be going out to lunch together downtown, at least a couple of days a week, not just Zooming from outside of the central city. But let's be real. It's probably not coming back the way that it was. We can try and regain what was, and we will, or we can be the first to successfully define what will be. I love this concept of adaptive reuse. The idea of taking underutilized office and commercial buildings and converting those buildings to housing, mixed use. I love the idea, but it's also very, very expensive. Resources matter because building out our downtown is also our best climate strategy. Downtown Sacramento was and is the region's best example of climate action, as people choose to live close to where they work, where they shop, and where they play. Gig cars and scooters are great, and they've added a real vitality to our downtown, but they are not enough. We have an ambitious climate vision in this capital city, from electrification to active transportation, from more housing to comprehensive bikeway networks, connecting the larger city to the central city, it all takes capital. Congresswoman Matsui is delivering big, as she always has, for our downtown, and thank you. And so is Senator Pan and Assemblymember McCarty over at the state capitol. There are, let's just say, gobs and gobs, otherwise known as billions and billions, of federal and state climate money for bikeways, for electrification, for transit, all require a big local match. Where are we going to get it? We need downtown. And resources matter, because we need downtown to lead the way for more affordable housing. Creating an entertainment, a sports, and a dining destination for the region means we need places for working people to live. But affordable housing, if we're going to make a real dent, which we haven't made enough of yet, requires local resources to supplement the state and federal dollars. Resources matter. Unless we are going to accept the fact that blight and underutilized spaces throughout the central city is just the way it is going to be forever. Think about the parts of our city that need a spur to get going. Boarded up buildings along I, J, and K. The northeast corner of 10th and J. The 12th and 16th Street corridors. Small outdated office buildings on S. The waterfront, including the dated low-rise motels along Richards and Jaboom Street. Frankly, there are just too many unrealized opportunities. I'm proud of Measure U and what we have done with the federal CARES and ARP funding. Hundreds of millions we have invested together in our small businesses, housing, and the creative economy, and so much more. But aside from the Measure U, the half-cent sales tax that the voters passed in 2018, it's all one-time funding. And more taxes? It might surprise you to hear it from me, but I frankly think we are near our limit. I thought that would bring an applause, actually. Jeez, I don't know. I mean, that was the surprise line of the speech. What is our best underutilized strategy to invest tens of millions of additional resources into our central city? Drum roll, please. You've heard farm to fork. You've heard Sacramento proud. You've heard the city of trees. I have a new slogan that rolls right off the tongue. The city with an enhanced infrastructure finance district. This is why I'm in politics, not public relations. I don't like it much either, to be honest with you. But so let's just call it instead by its acronym, EIFD. What is this strange bird, this EIFD? Simply put, it's a state law that provides an economic incentive. It says to business, if you invest in our central city, we will return a percentage of the increase in property values to the central city. It can be bonded. It can be used for infrastructure. It can be used for climate. It can be used for affordable housing. It's a potential game changer for our central city. I was able to get $30 million from the governor and the legislature for the rail yards. And thank you again to the Kellys for their dedication to transforming this key part of our city. That infrastructure investment and the promise of an EIFD has literally paved the way for 3 new major housing projects and the cusp of some major upcoming announcements regarding the entertainment future of the Central Shops. The EIFD for Aggie Square, it will generate $250 million for infrastructure and affordable housing in the coming decades. We would not have broken ground last week without the city finding a way to make a major contribution to infrastructure and housing. Now, this is not some wild-haired idea. Our neighbors in West Sacramento are doing this for 25% of their city. Their EIFD is expected to generate $535 million for infrastructure and housing in the coming decades. And it's not going to hurt their general fund. The West Sacramento EIFD is expected to boost their general fund by $140 million over the same period. That's without even capturing growth in the sales tax, which is now allowed by state law. And so I propose today that we consider a downtown-wide enhanced infrastructure finance district. Let's make the entire central city eligible. Let's target its initial use in places where decades have shown us clearly that in our central city, if we do not spark the growth, it ain't going to happen on a wing, a wish, or a prayer. A real investment plan for job and industry growth, adaptive reuse, climate progress, and affordable housing. I know what some of the critics may say. We shouldn't offer incentives where development will happen on its own. I agree. Others would say we could just take the money out of the general fund annually instead of making a long-term commitment to infrastructure, to climate, and to affordable housing. If there is in fact a risk in overutilizing a long-term financial tool, there is a greater risk, in my view, in using it only sparingly. Will future councils really discipline themselves every year when faced with competing priorities to actually invest in economic development? If we do not aggressively use the tools that we have to grow jobs, housing, and lead boldly on climate, what in fact are we really saying? I think I speak for the majority of people in this city and in this room in saying I'm not okay with our city being a follower on climate. I'm not okay with blight. I'm not okay with taking decades to redevelop the waterfront. And I'm not okay with all these holes and unrealized opportunities in our city. Let's harness sustainable growth to fund more sustainable growth. And together, we can shape the future of our central city. The EIFD, and I know it rolls off the tongue easy, is not our only tool. The governor has proposed $100 million for adaptive reuse conversions. Our downtown, our central city, is most affected by the stay-at-home orders. We need to fight for our fair share of that money. I say out of the 100, we ask for $50 million for 2 or 3 key projects. Assemblymember McCarty has introduced AB 2592, and we will work together to get this done. Same with $50 million proposed by the governor for new historic tax credits, which our downtown should be eligible for in large numbers. The state is also looking at converting several of its own buildings to affordable housing. There is so much opportunity. Now, Again, some of you know me would wonder, okay, what's he going to say next? I'm not going to say, let's put this on the city council agenda within the next 10 days and get this up and running within 20. We won't rush this EIFD plan. I want to schedule a full informational hearing with the city manager for the spring so we can get going and include the business community, the broader community, and make sure that we do this right. You know, sometimes I look at the challenges and say, oh my God, look at what we have all been through. But I always remember that whatever struggles we face pale in comparison with those of people who are working day in and day out to support their families, to build a business, or merely to survive. Whatever difficulties we have had together, I know we are going to come back. We are, in fact, coming back. Nothing is going to change my belief. Nothing is going to change my belief and attitude that is one for all and it's all for one. We can fight and disagree, but we have to continue to act in ways that are positive and uplifting, and to realize and remind ourselves every single day that we all have the same goals and dreams for the downtown, for the central city, and for this entire city. The best days for downtown Sacramento are ahead of us. I know that, and I thank you very much. Thank you. Sorry there, Michael. You know, I did leave out one line because I couldn't find it in the script, but I'm going to say it now, which is that I found a great Joan Didion quote. And the late Joan Didion, Sacramento's Joan Didion said, "You have to pick the places you don't walk away from." You have to pick the places you don't walk away from. Nobody's walking away from downtown Sacramento. Thank you.